There's been a genre of watch that I've always loved. It's that over-engineered big dive watch that does something that is completely unnecessary because most people use a dive computer. The Omega Pro Pluff, the Bulova Sea King. That's a watch that I actually purchased. It was probably around a 50mm dive watch with 1,000 meters of water resistance, a locking mechanism for the bezel, things that were completely unnecessary. Today, we're taking a look at one of those watches. They're completely over-engineered, and it's meant to be used instead of a traditional electronic dive computer. It's big, it's really cool, and very, very complicated. I have one hands-on, so let's flip the camera and take a look at the Lume Decompression 2. Clearly, this watch is not going to be for everyone. The design here is very polarizing, and of course the size is going to be very difficult for anyone with a small wrist to wear. This is 48mm at that bezel. There are 3 bezels on this watch. At the case, it measures in more like a 46mm watch, but still, that is large. It's a large watch. And this is meant to be an extreme dive watch that you would use in lieu of a diving computer. Now, let's be honest, most people are going to use a diving computer, not an automatic mechanical watch. It's safer to use a dive computer. With that being said, there are people out there who would want to use something like this, and there are far more people like myself who find something like this feat of engineering, very cool. There are 3 rotating bezels. You have an inner rotating bezel that is operated by this crown right over here at the 2 o'clock position. That has a bronze cap on it. It's screwed in. Then you have the center crown. That crown operates the time. And then you have a crown at the 10 o'clock position. That operates the locking mechanism for the inner rotating bezel that is on the outside of the case. So let me show you what I mean. There's an outer bezel, that's in ceramic. That's the black bezel that you're seeing. That outer bezel, that outer ceramic bezel is for timing decompression stops. So there's a really nice satisfying click to that. And when I move that, you could see it is a unidirectional bezel and it will rotate all the way around. But if I want to go in the other direction, it will not. Now, that's where this locking mechanism comes into play. Once you unscrew that crown at the 10 o'clock, now if you move in the other direction, you could hear it sounds great. You could set that other bezel and then set the decompression bezel. Now that inner bezel, that steel bezel, is for total dive time. So that's a dive time bezel. And then you have that outer bezel, which is for decompression stops. The inner bezel is operated by the bronze tipped crown right here. So that rotates that inner rotating bezel. And that basically is, it's not really an inner rotating bezel, it's more of an inner rotating disc. And that inner rotating disc has 17 decompression profiles on it. So as you move it, you could set the profile per the dive that you are doing. That inner disc, or rotating bezel, whatever you want to call it, that is the ZHL16 decompression table. It has 17 different dive profiles. There's a fly, no fly indicator. The name of this watch is Lume, the Decompression 2. Dr. Lume was a Swiss researcher and physician who actually worked on decompression theory at the University Hospital of Zurich. He developed decompression models, which divers use to plan and structure their dives today. So using this watch, you should be able to plan out a dive. Now, it is not a very flexible system because if you have a dive computer, you can change things on the fly. Obviously, these are screwed in. The bezels are essentially locked, so you wouldn't be able to change things very easily on this watch. It's not as flexible as a computer. That's something to keep in mind, but this is a very purpose-built instrument, and it looks like an instrument. When you put this on your wrist, it actually wears comfortable. In my opinion, I think it wears very comfortable. They put the thinnest movement that they could put in this from, basically an off-the-shelf movement. This gets a Sellita SW300. So this is a higher grade Sellita movement. It is thinner than a Sellita SW200. So that makes a lot of sense. With that being said, it's still around 16 and change thick. So it's almost 17 millimeters thick, depending on where you measure it. And then you have a 55 millimeter lug to lug. This gets a beautiful colored dial as well. It's like an aqua blue. That 55 millimeters is actually not all that bad because you have articulating lugs on this side. Now, it's not the whole entire lug, but it's part of the lug. It's really nicely made as well. As you can see, this case is very robust, but it's also put together very well. There's large screws, and the case back is held in with very large screws. It's ergonomic as well. There's a little bit of, I guess that's for grip. These little wave patterns right here, you can feel it's a little grippy. So it stays on your wrist and it sort of props it up a little bit as well. I love the case back on this watch. And you have this very thick rubber strap with a very large buckle on here that again is sort of echoing the chunkiness of the case and how big and over-engineered it is and how unnecessary it is. And again, it's kind of the reason why I really like this watch. I've owned watches like this. I currently own watches like this because I just think that they're interesting, over-engineered mechanical watches. I just love them. And this one does something that basically a regular dive computer can do, although, like I said, it's not as flexible. This is very cool. By the way, this is also made in collaboration with Watch Angels. Now, Watch Angels have made some really amazing watches over the years. Specifically, I love what they did with Waltham, but I also really love what they recently did with Federic Constant and that world timer that they made that looks so good. I have mentioned that in a few of the videos that I have done here on my channel as a really good alternative. If you really want a Patek Philippe world timer, take a look at that Watch Angels version. It's something that I'm not sure why Federic Constant couldn't come to that design on their own, but they used Watch Angels, they collaborated with them, and they came out with what I think is one of the best looking affordable world timers. And this is just yet another collaboration. They brought this to life and it is insane. Now the dial itself, you have applied indices, you have sort of a stepped dial. There's lots of depth here because of all the different bezels. And you have a very small hour hand. I would imagine that is probably the only complaint. I'm not sure why they didn't go a little bit longer. That would have made sense, but there you go. I'm not sure why. And you have a very large minutes hand with an arrow, and that is loomed. Then you have a very large arrow on that second hand, and again, that is loomed. I believe part of the bezel is loomed. At least one of the bezels is loomed, maybe both of the bezels. I'm not entirely sure. Let me show you what I have on my wrist, and then I'm going to show you this watch on my wrist. By the way, this is a limited edition of only 575, and I think you only have 14 days left to order this watch. If you want something that is insane and you will never see on anybody else's wrist because they're only making 575 of these, definitely check out their website. I'll put a link to their website down in the description. It's at Watch Angels, their website. That's where this is being sold. So I'll put a link down in the description. Very, very cool. Obviously, I like watches that I'm not going to see on other people's wrists, and here's a very good example of that. This is a David Rudden. I've never seen anybody ever wear one of these, ever. It's a full meteorite case, jump hour movement made by Christopher Ward. It's an insane watch, and that's why I like it. It's also large. This is a 40, well, it's actually around a 37 millimeter watch, but the lug to lug is in the 50s, so it wears very large. It's thick as well, but I could pull it off. Let me show you the Bullman on my 7.5 inch wrist. And there you go. There it is on my 7.5 inch wrist. And I have to say, it doesn't look big and it is comfortable. I've worn this watch out. I've worn it to work and it is comfortable. I don't notice that this watch is on my wrist. It doesn't dig into my wrist. It sits really nicely. It actually sits up a little bit when you turn it on its side. You can see it's thick, but it's not all that thick. It just looks crazy from the top view because of those articulating lugs, all the crowns, that darkened crown with the a little bit of bronze in it. I think this is wild. I love the design. I think it's so much fun. And also, obviously, a very serious watch. It's something that I think wouldn't get used by many people, But that's not really the point with watches like this. I think they intend it for people to use while diving, but I think a lot of people, most people who buy this, will not use this during diving. It's the people who buy the Oris, the giant Oris that they make. One of my friends has it. I love that watch when I see it. I think it's so cool. It has a locking bezel. This is in the same vein as that. The Bulova Sea King 1000, a watch that I've owned, and I regret selling every single day. I keep on looking for another one. And then the Proplof, which is another, watch like this in that same vein, in the same vein as that Sea King, in the same vein as this watch. I think these watches have appeal for people like me who love this over-engineered dive watch look. Obviously, the thought of everything here, so everything is lumed. So the dial is lumed. Both bezels are lumed, so even the countdown bezel is lumed, that inner bezel, or the inner outer bezel, and then of course the outer bezel that is ceramic is basically fully lumed, and then the dial is lumed, so all of the hands are lumed, including the seconds hand, so you could see that your watch is working in the dark. Very important for a dive watch, a real diver with 575 meters of water resistance, and it's very liberally applied, so the lume is excellent. Price on this is $4,825. That seems like a lot of money, but it really isn't for what you are getting here. This is a very complicated watch to make. The bezels all line up, and there are 3 of them, which there are brands out there who charge a lot more money for their watches that have problems aligning their bezels. So I think this is pretty incredible that they were able to do this for this price. And if you ever see one of these in hand, you are lucky, because this is a treat. If you like dive watches, if you like big dive watches, this is just a lot of fun. I really love this watch, and I'm excited to show it to you guys. I know there aren't many reviews out there on this specific watch, and I'm very happy that I was able to make one. And guys, tell me what you think down in the comments below. Like I said, I will add a link to Watch Angels where this watch is currently available. Tell me what you guys think down in the comments below. I want to hear from you guys. What do you think of this watch? What do you think of what they are trying to do here? Obviously, would you actually go diving with this watch? Let me know down in the comments. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. It is really helpful for the channel, and I very much appreciate it. Anyway, guys, thank you for logging on. Thank you for watching this video. I will catch you guys in the next video.